Hello and welcome to episode 22 of Sequel Pitch, the podcast where three finely dressed film lovers pitch sequel ideas to movies that don't currently have them. I'm the author of the round table this week, Matt Rushton, and joining me as always, my valiant knights of the round table, Ross Harmston.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Right?
Drew Toynbee, beat that one.
Hi.
And of course, Andy Henry.
To Excalibur!
They've missed a trick not having references to Excalibur in this movie.
I feel like they've big time missed a trick. So, after some incredible pitches to last week's film A Star Is Born, I thought I'd keep that intensity and get our pitchers to pitch me some sequels to the second Kingsman movie, Kingsman The Golden Circle.
Yeah.
For those that haven't watched the movie already, now could be a great time to do so. Okay, welcome back. For everyone else who didn't pause us, here is your 60-ish second summary, starting now. Fresh off saving the world, Taron Egerton's Eggsy fights asshole-turned-villain from movie 1, Charlie Hesketh, in an epic taxi ride where Charlie's robotic arm manages to attach itself to a souped-up taxi. This gives drug cartel CEO Poppy Adams, played by Julianne Moore, complete access to the Kingsman database, where she bombs every site, killing all of Eggsy's comrades and friends in the process. A doomsday protocol guides Eggsy and Merlin, who somehow survived, reprised by Mark Strong, to the Statesman distillery in Kentucky, USA. It turns out the Statesman are also an independent intelligence agency, and the two forces team up. Channing Tatum's tequila soon gets taken out of commission as a blue rash begins to sweep the recreational drug world. Poppy Adams' plan is to ransom the world's population with a lethal concoction that needs her formulated antidote, one that she will release when drugs are legalized around the world. The president, of course, has no plans to meet her demands and says the criminals who use the drugs should die as punishment. Eggsy, along with a returning Harry, played by Colin Firth, who is having some severe side effects to being shot in the head in the first movie, and of course Pedro Pascal's whiskey, they try to collect a vial of the antidote from a lab in Italy, but to no avail. Harry ends up shooting Whiskey in the head, believing him to be working for Poppy. Eggsy saves Whiskey with some alpha gel, some very cool substance, that was used to keep Harry alive in the first movie, it turns out. The team eventually track down Poppy's hideout in Cambodia and they storm it. Merlin nobly sacrifices himself to save the others, and Eggsy and Harry confront Poppy, also saving Elton John in the process. The team eventually track down Poppy... No, I've already read that bit. Poppy does give the antidote code over to the Kingsman once she's infected with her own virus, but she dies shortly after due to a heroin overdose. Whiskey reappears, confirming Harry's concerns, and tries to stop the team in vain before being ground up in a mincer. The Taylors save the world again, the Statesman invests into Kingsman, and they create a whiskey distillery in Scotland. Kingsman is now in the liquor business. So there you go, very, very quick synopsis. What do we think, chaps?
Love it.
Yeah, it was pretty good, but not as good as the first. I'll throw it out there.
Yeah, I'm definitely with Andy on that. It's fun.
They definitely went balls to the wall in the second one. They were just like, we are going to go absolutely mad in the second one. Robots, robot dogs, being able to survive after being shot in the fucking head by using some gel, electric lasso lightsabers.
Mixing up man meat for burgers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
They
hardcore.
went, and Elton John as well.
Yeah, what a random.
Yeah, they went.
Throw Elton John in there.
And despite all that, I love it. I don't know why. Like, everything about it should make me go, this is stupid. But I just love it. I don't know why. I love the soundtrack to it. Like, the soundtrack's really good.
Yeah.
And the performances are really good as well.
Well, it doesn't take itself seriously, which helps you obviously have a laugh along with it.
And I think it just goes, it just, highlights all those mad, James Bond films that we've seen, or any of the old spy thriller movies, and they've just gone fully balls to the wall, really, haven't they?
Yeah.
Oh,
They got a
for sure.
briefcase, gun, and an umbrella shield in this one. It's just anything.
Yeah.
Anything goes. It's quite funny. And and that weird gel that just cures headshots. Just
Yeah.
bam. Which they completely
nanobite.
ruined in the
Yeah,
trailer,
and
if I remember right.
nanites.
Nanites,
That
Yeah.
can, that
They,
can
if I remember it
rebuild.
right, the way Halle Berry explained it was they go in and they protect your brain,
Yeah, the
and then
gel
the nanites do the work.
The gel
And then
protects the
that's-
brain, and then the nanites go in and rebuild the tissue, which is kind of like, earth-shatteringly powerful technology.
That they don't share with anyone.
That is all hoarded away for Jeff Bridges and his 3 mates.
I love even in the first one though, I love the fight scenes. The fight scenes are choreographed
Insane.
really well as well.
I say the first one, the taxi for me was a little bit heavy on CGI, the background, I think, but it still looked great. And the end scene as well. Like again,
It's
a bit
probably quite
heavy.
difficult to film fighting in an actual taxi driving around actual London, I must admit, Andy. But yeah, you are right.
Yeah, we've definitely
they
seen.
had to make sacrifices.
We've definitely seen better
Tom
implemented
Cruise.
CG.
If it was Tom Cruise, he would have done it for real.
What do you guys think that they used as the method of filming the fight scenes? Because they seem like they're cranked at certain bits. Do you know? Does it make sense?
It's just a huge mix of different. Like there's elements of like snorri cam. There's elements of there's overcranked moments. There's slow-mo moments. There's a lot of like full CG character models, which are really convincing. Like there's a moment in the taxi fight where the baddie pulls Eggsy through the slit in the seat from the boot of the car into the passenger compartment, and that's looks pretty clearly CG, and the models are all really good. But it's incredibly inventive, and these really really long digitally created one-ers. It's the choreography is absolutely one of the highlights for me.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of take a similar approach to how they did it with The Matrix, where they just get 20, 30 cameras arced and they just film every single angle, but in a much tighter scale. Because then through your edit, you can create that 360, that kind of rotational feel that they're using
they
quite a
like
lot
movement
of different...
as well. If you just have a stationary 360, I say like the one shots are very movie, aren't they? They come in and out.
Yeah, and speaking of the taxi sequence, like I love that that's the opener to the film. That it looks like it's going to start sort of quite sedate and introduce it to the characters, and immediately there's a baddie from the previous movie shows up, and then we're into a bonkers fight, and it only slows down to take a breath. Like it feels like they wanted to do the James Bond opening madness sequence, but have it also be part of the movie, wherein Bond it always felt very very separate.
I think they tried to do it similar to, I'm not sure when this came out, but the Quantum of Solace. The Quantum of Solace intro is literally the Aston Martin chase scene. That is the end of Casino Royale.
Yeah.
No, wait. I'm right. Yeah. Which is quite cool. So I really liked. I don't really know what to say. Like there are some bonkers bit. Like maybe bringing Harry back. Was a bit.
Yeah, I'm fine with that and the whole way they do it. But I thought the whole amnesia thing actually slowed the film down a bit.
Yeah,
because they.
Oh my god!
They put him through a test which he doesn't. Yeah, I can't remember. Like that's
this,
the thing.
This
bit,
film
I'm thinking,
feels 4 hours long.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how long it was until he proper gained it back. But I was just a bit like, if he came to during one of the tests, I'll be a bit like, oh, okay, but yeah.
Well, but that's the mad thing. He gets his memory back at like the midpoint of the movie. It's like an hour and 5 minutes in or so.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's been an entire movie before he gets his memory back. That's the issue. One of the biggest issues I have with this is that it is just far too long.
Yeah.
So, considering it was the same writing team and the same directing team, why do you think it didn't, Drew, coming back to you on that note, why do you think it didn't hold your attention, and why do you think you didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as the first one?
I think for me personally, it felt a bit flabby, and it felt like there was too much focus put in some area. Like, bringing Harry back is inspired, and Colin Firth is really good, but having it be until the final fight before he comes back into his own, it makes sense from a story perspective, but actually it's just not that interesting watching him be a bit crap once he's got his memory back. Not to mention, there's those 3 moments in the movie where you think he's going to get his memory back and then he doesn't, and it just feels more and more anticlimactic. And yeah, it's I think they have... The first film was really well received because it was a bit over the top, and it was like Bond on speed, and people really liked all that. And I really enjoyed that too. But then this one just felt... The first one went mad in the action scenes, and that's where it really went off the wall bonkers nuts, and that worked really well. And I feel like they've let the off the wall madness stuff spread too far into the rest of the movie for me. Yeah. I would rather that Poppy had 2 really mean flesh and blood dogs, not robot dogs, for no reason. It makes sense. I completely get it, and I'm glad that it, like Ross, I'm glad this works for you really, really well, because it is in many ways a Roger Moore Bond movie made in 2017. Definitely. This is what the Roger Moore Bond movies, like, look at fucking Jaws and people with hooks for hands and all that kind of mad stuff. It all makes sense, but it just doesn't work for me.
There's 2 bits that I've picked up, like, that I didn't like about the movie. 2 bits of the movie. I didn't like the whole fingering the girl bit. Was just very
I was gonna get onto that.
Yeah, that was weird. And
even
also
the camera, when it kind of went down, you're a bit like, how far are we going to go?
You don't need to show that. Like, that was... And then the second bit was the spinning, like, thing that, like, goes... Oh, I don't know what they're called. The
cable car.
No,
the cable car that spins around. That has the level of 100. Why did they build that with the level to spin around at 100, whatever, like, at 100%? Surely when they made it, they were like, should we... No, let's just put it down to 20%, right? Yeah. Let's lock it off at 20. Let's never put it at 100%. That was funny. Go on, Drew. What were you going to say about the festival scene that was largely pointless?
Well, exactly. Like, it could have just been it was just gratuitous, and I can't really say too much more than that. It just feels really icky, and it's all tied in with his growth as a character, and like he feels he has a duty to insert the tracking device because he wants to save the world, but he's trying to be faithful to the princess, and that it is a really valid direction to take it, to have him try and be in a committed relationship whilst being James Bond. That's really interesting, and it's a cool thing to explore, but they just went too far. Like, all they needed was him, like, zipping up the tent and then going in and then coming back out and being like, no, you know what, I'm in a relationship, I can't do this, goodbye. And we would have absolutely got it. And
so my question, I had a question about this. In that, obviously, we talk a lot on this podcast about character journeys and character progression when we pick up on the second or third films in the series. Like, do you think, one, was there really an attempt whilst we're talking about this conflict in the tent? Do we feel like it was a genuine attempt from the movie to create some deeper character relationships and development, or do you think it was very much just kind of chucked in for flavour so that the characters kind of had something to go up against?
I think they did try. Like, I think Drew's right, and they tried to show the fact that it's not similar. He's trying to be this James Bond character, but with that, but he also has this person at home. But then it just didn't land with when you're trying to make it so gratuitous with him doing that, and then having this really over dramatic music. It's like da 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 when you follow in the little tracker inside her, inside her.
Yeah.
Which is just really weird. Just took me out of the movie for a second. I was like, this is so weird. But I think Drew's right.
Maybe that was for a bit of the younger audiences, I guess. Because I don't think we saw boob or anything, did we, with her?
No.
It was just
it was in
a
bra.
CGI crotch, from what I remember, wasn't?
Yeah.
I doubt they got the camera right up against it.
Well,
but,
I mean, having read the trivia, that it wasn't a CGI crotch. That was a camera right there.
Oh. Right.
Really?
Although I seem to remember it was her boyfriend or her husband's hand.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it makes you feel. Oh yeah, no, there we go. Yeah, Taron Egerton said Poppy Delavigne's husband's shot that scene, but yeah, it's still just like it's just overly gratuitous. And yes, we get into this really funny area where you talk about why is seeing two people be put headfirst into meat grinders and immediately turned into burger meat not gratuitous in the way that is, but it's just icky. Like the violence in this film is all really cartoony, and this is a woman being lied to and physically penetrated by a bloke who is lying to her. Yes, he's trying to save the world, and yes, she's a baddie and all of this stuff, but it doesn't take away from the fact that is it
weird.
Just feels not good, and they could have put across exactly the same idea without having that shot, and it would have been infinitely more palatable than it is.
2017, did you say?
Yeah.
I think we've come a long way since then. So if that was shot, if they did say do Kingsman 3 rather than the prequel, I think they wouldn't put anything in that. In the future one. But.
But then they have like really good character moments, like the whole bit with Merlin at the end is like so good when he just sings West Virginia. So good.
He was good. I think Poppy was wasted. I think.
The ending of her was a bit just like, oh, okay,
very anticlimactic.
Yeah,
One big
Julianne Moore, Julianne Moore. It feels like she shot this movie in like a week and a half. They're just like, right, let's do let's do your 4 scenes in the diner. Yeah, we can get all of that in one day. That's great, and we'll do that one scene in the bowling alley. Oh yeah, Julianne, you're done. Right, thanks.
We've got one scene with Elton, and then lunch, and then
also how weird. How do they stack all these people in cages in this stadium, and then they have to get them all down and inject them in.
Oh my god! The president,
this
president is
dead,
amazing. Oh my god!
I was like, how long
it takes?
Yeah,
I've got to get that one right at the top there. Oh
yeah.
Why did you leave right at the top? Jesus.
Yeah, how that happened, how they built all that in that stadium in that time, secretly, I guess. Yeah, but when the president was just like, "Yeah, fuck him, let him die," I was like, "Oh, amazing!"
That was I enjoyed that as a plot twist. That was an interesting angle. But again, it just shows that it's leaning into the cartoon villainy so much more than the first one. Like the first one felt semi-plausible, and this one is just like fantasy. Sorry if you can hear my son going "He-ya" in the background.
He agrees with Dad.
I've got one thing which, like Matt, I was kind of hoping you would say in the synopsis. Basically, when Harry shoots what's his name, Whiskey, and says he showed his hand. How did he show his hand? Did I miss something?
Well, he knocked the vial out of... So Taron Egerton is holding the vial and very clearly...
Is that it? Because...
Well, but the camera does it in a way that very clearly will suggest what Harry saw. Because of the way that he dives with an intent with a slow-mo push of his hand. So, like, what Harry sees is exactly what the audience sees, but from his angle. Where Whiskey's only objective is to break the vial in Taron Egerton's hand. Which, in Harry's eyes, he then goes, well, he broke that vial on purpose. He's a bad guy.
Okay. I knew that. I was just that was... I guess he would be a world-class spy if he got his memory back just then, and he was like, oh, I don't need any more convincing.
I think the point is that he'd never... they're trying to suggest that whilst the butterflies are there and distracting him a bit, he's certainly not lost his touch. Yeah. He's absolutely not lost his touch. But it just sells the whole idea that Harry is a broken man. And I think this was also what I was meaning when we were talking about these character growth and relationships. Like the turmoil for Eggsy with Harry and watching him become this shell of a man. Obviously, losing his dad at a young age, which is where the first movie kind of circles and centres around their relationship. They were clearly trying to find a new avenue to pursue that father-son relationship. And I guess the way that they thought they could do it best was having Harry back, but not having the Harry that Eggsy knew back. And, it's another turmoil for him. That there's a lot of, the way I see it, they're trying to build a lot of turmoil for Eggsy, because what they can't do is have him being the chip on the shoulder kind of character anymore. They do it in the first film, that is this council estate lad that grew up, no silver spoon, against and around, surrounded by people who've had privilege the whole life. You can't do that again. He's with a princess of Sweden now. He's going to marry this princess, so they had to find new issues for him to get over, in order to create a more rounded, human-like character, I guess. And it's just whether they achieved it.
He's definitely much more savage in this one. Like, he literally breaks the neck of what's-his-face right at the end. I was I was like, whoa, jeez. I know he shoots like about 50,000 people in the movie, but it's just that. He's like, yeah.
It's a real personal moment, isn't it? And I guess it's something where, you don't necessarily see that from any of the Kingsmen in either movie, that they have a real personal vendetta moment. So to show that is something that kind of goes very much against the nature of what Kingsmen are meant to do, but it's probably a very satisfying moment for the actor and for the audience watching.
Well, it's also like he's set up as not being typical Kingsman material in every way. Like, he's from a council estate and he won't shoot the dog, and Merlin is constantly telling him to calm down and not be emotional, and then he does get emotional when he kills the bad guy and stuff. Like, I wonder if at that point it had been such a fucking long time since everyone got bombed and blew up at the beginning of the movie. They needed to remind everyone why he was pissed off with this guy.
Yeah, fair. It had been, hadn't it?
He killed Michael Gambon, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Killed them all.
All.
I think we're kind of coming to a natural conclusion with the movie. We've kind of touched on some of the things. Do you think, one question, and we'll keep it a short question, do you think any of the humour and the, some of the writing, the cleverness in some of the case of the writing, do you think any of that was lost in the second movie?
I think because the first one, because it was just basically Bond on speed, but it was still pretty original in a lot of the things. So
it had a lot of personality.
I
just feel like the first one has a very British personality to it.
Yeah. This definitely felt like I think Ross mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, the hard second album to follow up. Because they didn't really follow any of the comics that it's really based on, I don't think,
I think from the very limited research that I've done, I think the comics are more like blatant, more overtly political than a Hollywood studio might be comfortable with directly adapting. I feel like you can see the leanings towards a kind of left-wing ideology in that it's an American president with a red tie who says that all drug users are degenerates and deserve to literally die.
Wonder what was happening in the States around the time they were filming this.
Yes, I do wonder. What did happen in 2016, 2017 again? But yeah, it felt like they knew that they had a hit on their hands from the first one, and they were like, right, we need to build this world as big as possible. We need to get the statesman in. We need to show that it's a global thing so that we've got loads of different options of how we can spin this off when Taron Egerton wins an Oscar for playing Elton John and then won't ever have time to come back and do this again, even though he unfortunately didn't win an Oscar and he deserved to. It was overstuffed. The first one was streamlined and felt very personal, and this one's a load of fun. But there's just so much going on. As soon as you put Jeff Bridges in a movie and he's only really in like 3 scenes and he does fuck all, like that says you've got more people than you know what to do with.
I love he's always like fingering the bottle or smelling his cigar or something. He's such a disgusting character. He's just like, but he's great.
Champ.
Yeah,
Ross,
champ.
final thoughts on you on the humour of it all?
Yeah, I think the humour works, but I agree with Drew in the sense that it is very bloated in terms of now thinking about it. The first one is much better. I still like them. I still think they're entertaining, and however, they're clearly going for over the top action. And some people might really hate that, and some people might like that. It depends, I guess, on your own personal preference. But the acting is very good, apart from Halle Berry. I think she's awful in that movie.
Really?
Yeah, she's so bad in it.
Why? What was wrong with her?
She's just so bad. She's just bad. Bad performance.
Wow.
But
She doesn't really do a lot, I guess. You don't really get to see much.
exactly.
Yeah,
versatility
my
from
argument
her
would
in
be
that.
I don't think she has enough to do to say that what she did was
Yeah.
bad.
she's
But there we
bad. She's bad.
There you go.
Yeah, but yeah, good performances. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I'll give it. Are we going to go with scores
I think
now?
you were feeding straight into it. I'm not
Yeah.
going to stop you, Ross. You crack on
I'm
with
gonna
that
give
score of
it-
yours.
I'm going to give it 3.5. Robotic dogs. That sort of know that Elton John's their friends out of 5.
There we go. Thank you very much.
3.5.
Coming straight over to Andy.
Ooh,
score, please.
Yeah. Score. I'm gonna say. Just actually thinking. I just had a thought about relationships. I would have liked at that time when he was when he didn't have his memory. I would have liked maybe Eggsy to take the leader role a bit more. That Hart had in the first film, and then their kind of dynamic switched a little bit more. But yeah, definitely the first one. If I was going to pick which one to watch, the first or second one, it'd definitely be the first. I'm going to give this one. I say I would have gone 3.5, but I think it's just because I like it a lot. But if you really scale it back, I'm going to give it 3.25. Man-made minced burgers.
Mince burgers.
Minced man.
Mad
Thank you very much. Coming over to you, Mr. Toynbee.
Yeah, for me, I've said pretty much everything. The only things that I haven't said are that Mark Strong is a treasure and is just always so magnetic and watchable in everything that he does. I love Mark Strong, and only Mark Strong could make me feel emotional seeing a man in the jungle in a suit singing Take Me Home Country Roads in a broad fake Scottish accent and feel emotional watching him do that. Taron Egerton is really, really great. Colin Firth's always great. Full of Oscar winners, full of fun, full of inventive fights, but overstuffed, overbloated, and just generally OTT. So I'm going with 2.75.
Whoa.
2.75.
Not a recommendation from you, Andrew.
Elton John high kicks to the face with a cheeky grin. Like it is fun, and there is
But that's
stuff.
not a recommendation from you then.
No, not quite.
Ooh.
I'd recommend it to some people, but I reckon I would only recommend it to 2.75 people out of 5.
I think we did an episode not too long ago with The Hitman's Bodyguard, which we were talking about the action comedy genre and how it seems to be kind of blowing up a bit at the moment. Kingsman The Golden Circle came off the back of the first Kingsman movie, which for me absolutely epitomizes comedy action. This is, it gets a little far-fetched. They were clearly, trying to reach perhaps a wider audience and expand a little and see how they could keep pushing boundaries. There are some real achieving bits in it with the action in particular. The choreography is stellar. So if you were looking for a movie that is packed full of action without necessarily taking itself too seriously and offering you much from a character perspective, this could be your choice. You'd probably want to watch the first one first. But if you're looking for something that's got a bit of meaning to it and something where you can genuinely feel like you've gone on a journey with your characters, this perhaps is not it. That being said, I'm going to give it... For me, I do quite enjoy it, and I do have a big soft spot for the first film. I feel like they could have achieved more, but I can still sit here and enjoy it in the right mood. So for me, I'm going to give it right on the cusp of a recommendation myself and score it 3 Golden Circle tattoos out of 5.
Very nice.
So we've scaled from 3.5 down in 0.25 increments, I believe, to 2.75. What does that give us? Drew Toynbee, the scores, please.
Comes out at 3.13, which tied. There we go.
Yeah.
It is a recommendation, tied with Commando.
I feel like that is quite apt to score, considering the 2 episodes and the 2 conversations we've had.
Does feel fitting.
So there you go, 3.13 scrapes a recommendation. But of course, it's always down to you, our listeners, whether you do or don't watch them. With that being said, it is time. We've reached the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to get those sequels pitched. As always, you 3 are going to pitch me your sequel ideas. I have asked for you this week a title, a one-liner synopsis, so that our listeners, you'll be able to get an idea of where the story's going to go, followed by the full pitch, just to try and make sure that we've got a bit more clarity on there. We are starting with the last person to submit, who was Drew Toynbee. So you are our last submitter. First pitcher, give me your title, your one-liner, and your pitch, please.
My title is Kingsman The Broken Chain. And my one-liner is, this is the resolution of Harry and Eggsy's journey together. They have to take on a global organisation, again, what a surprise, that plans to permanently crash the world's economy and redistribute all wealth.
There we go.
So, movie opens with a big montage of the Kingsman and the Statesman organisations having a number of very successful years. You see their agents, some sort of falling in combat, but mostly foiling plots all over the world. Lots of opportunities for just wild, bonkers, the craziest stuff that the second unit can think of to film, and they can just go and film it. Harry has taken their seat at the head of the table as the new Arthur. He's introducing their newest recruiter, a young woman called Donna, taking on the title of Lancelot. And again, I'm seeing Florence Pugh because she's wicked again. I will eventually find someone else to start casting in these roles, but she's so good. She's fresh out of the army and very reminiscent of Eggsy. And then he says, and here's Galahad. Camera pans, you expect it to be Taron Egerton as Eggsy, but it is Daniel Radcliffe as the new Galahad. Galahad, real name James, and Harry have a kind of a cordial but a slightly awkward relationship. Galahad and Lancelot are briefed by Harry for a mission to the States, where they're going to be joined by Agent Tequila and have Channing Tatum show up. Tequila says to Harry, are you ready for your big mission? And Harry says he's honestly not sure, but he'll do his best. Cut to Harry being dogpiled by Eggsy's three-year-old triplets and his half-sister Daisy, while they all scream, Uncle Harry! It's the triplets' 3rd birthday party in the garden of a stately home. Eggsy, Tildy, and Eggsy's mum, Michelle, are all looking on and laughing at the kids like rolling around on top of Harry. Eggsy and Harry have a chat and talk about how Eggsy has stepped down from field work and he's now kind of acting as a consultant. He helps to train the new recruits and assists the new Merlin, and he's taken the name Balthazar. Harry is staying at the house for a few days to sort of catch up because they don't see each other very, very much anymore. Cut to Lancelot and Galahad are infiltrating a big event in the US by a guy called Jack Madden. He is a full-on like hippie, vegan, eco-warrior played by Dwayne Johnson. The whole thing is vegan, powered on renewable energy, etc. They're there because in one of the opening sequences, a statesman was killed whilst investigating something happening at a legal cannabis farm, and the statesman found a connection to Jack Madden. You'd have mainly, this is Channing Tatum and Dwayne Johnson reuniting after their like 2 minutes on screen together in the G.I. Joe movie before they killed off Channing Tatum. and have a bit of banter. Channing Tatum being really into red meat and petrol cars, and Dwayne Johnson like talking about vegan protein and having manly back and forth as such. Madden is boasting about his mad heads, who are like his followers, like the almost cult-like fans who follow him on social media. While Tequila has Madden distracted, Lancelot and Galahad investigate, and they find some information pointing to a server farm in the Nile Delta in Egypt. But before they can leave, Galahad is forced to give himself up to let Lancelot escape with the information. So she escapes, and they follow a signal that they find on Galahad straight to Merlin, who is played by Danny Dyer. And the new Merlin, Danny Dyer, is also captured. Harry is then obviously called away. Eggsy wants to go with him, but he tells Eggsy that he has to stay and support remotely because he can't be responsible for the loss of another father in the Unwin family. So, Act 2 of the movie, Madden is interrogating Daniel Radcliffe and Danny Dyer, gradually sort of teasing out bits of information through various different like tortures and being friends and all of this kind of stuff, and playing them off against each other, because Daniel Radcliffe and Danny Dyer in the movie, probably not in real life, I don't know, in the movie they hate each other, and so you have them like having a go at each other through all of that as they eventually give out more information through the course of the middle of the film. Tequila begins trying to infiltrate Madden's organisation to find Galahad and Merlin, and Lancelot and Harry go to Egypt to the server farm, which is all run on solar and turbine energy, and it's all self-sustaining. Eggsy helps them get in, and they find details of Madden's cryptocurrency, which he is releasing soon, and learn that the plot is anyone who buys this cryptocurrency, it will put out a virus that will empty the bank accounts of anyone who owns it, and because it will be all the rich people who will buy it all, they will lose all of the money, it will be distributed everywhere, and everything will be anarchy. But a breach is detected when they get the information. The guards start attacking, and the server farm all gets completely blown up. But they manage to make it out. Madden eventually breaks Galahad and Merlin and gets access to the Kingsman and Statesman databases and puts everyone at risk again, so they all have to go on the run. He puts out a message to his fans and tells them through social media, and they basically start going crazy, like World War Z zombies almost. It's like that level of mania. It's like Beatlemania, but grown-ups with dreadlocks. They go and destroy the Statesman HQ and kill Jeff Bridges so that he has a paycheck for this movie, but he obviously takes out loads of them and gets to do some cool stuff. Madden keeps his plan on track. He publicises the release of the cryptocurrency. Eggsy tries to discredit him in the press, but he's like, no one listens because the Kingsman is a secret organisation and they just assume it's just people trying to take him down. There are going to be launch events on Wall Street, in London and in Hong Kong, and the Kingsman and the Statesman all have to rally and sort of spread themselves across all of these different organisations. All of them go to fight, but they can't get through Madden's fans, and they all get overwhelmed apart from Harry, who makes it in. Eggsy uses Tildy's resources to fly to Wall Street to help Harry. They get into the fight to try and stop Madden pressing the button, and in the end Harry has to sacrifice himself to save Eggsy when they get overpowered. And Harry says, no, I told you before, I can't cause someone in the Unwin family to lose a father again. And Eggsy's like, no, but I am losing a father if you die. And Harry realises that he is a father, and he's really happy, and then he sacrifices himself, and there we go. Madden then has his big speech about how the Kingsmen are as bad as all the wealthy, hoarding all the power, hoarding everything, and he's going to make the world a better place. Eggsy says he agrees, but there's a better way. And so Eggsy puts out all of the information and all the resources of the Kingsman and the Statesman to the public. With all the information, all of the trades on the crypto are ceased. Madden's followers realise that he's properly evil, and so they're sort of disenfranchised and they stop, and Madden is taken away and arrested. All of the Kingsman and Statesman agents are now out of a job, but Eggsy reveals in ending narration, which is actually him telling his kids about their two granddads, the one who died when Eggsy was little and the one who died more recently, that the skills and resources of all the agents were put to better use trying to make things better out in the open as they join the army and government agencies and try and effect change from within the system. The end.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Cool. A couple of questions, of course. First of all, how much later is this? When's this set? From the last movie?
I'm seeing it 4 years after the last one.
Cool. Awesome. Right. Why? This is very, very clearly the closing chapter on Eggsy and Harry. Why did you decide that would be the case for this movie?
It felt fitting for Harry and Eggsy's journey to be sent off like this. There was also, like, I was trying to think about it from a business perspective, and because they are doing the prequel, they've got from 1918 to 2021 to do whatever Kingsman like side stories they feel like doing in any time period with any actors. It just felt like I'll be if I were trying to pitch this as a franchise, then I wouldn't make it as definitively the ending, and I would find a different way for Eggsy to win. But it felt like having they've all got these ideological messages, and there's Valentine in the first movie wants the rich people to live and everyone else to fuck off and die. There's Poppy, who is a drug dealer, but then you've got the Republican president who's also evil. And so I wanted there to be another politically motivated baddie, and it felt like I appreciate that it's a little bit Winter Soldier, in that the end is the secret organization giving away all their secrets and giving up, but it felt right to end it here, and it felt right for it to be a trilogy, basically. Cool.
You've mentioned it already. I'll come back to it. Madden being a vegan, how do you make sure, an eco-warrior and all the terms that you've used, how do you make sure that it isn't seen as a comment on veganism and therefore potentially divisive?
I mean, there is a risk of that, but ultimately the point is that he is going too far with it. The thing that I want to get to is that actually he has a point, like redistributing the wealth of all of these billionaires who find precious resources and snarf them all up before anyone else can get a hold of them is bad, and it should be changed. But the way that he's going to do it is going to cause global anarchy, and millions of innocent people will lose their jobs and their homes and their lives. And so it is partially... So I found a bit of trivia that said that Matthew Vaughn would want Dwayne Johnson to be the villain in the third one. And I was like, well, yeah, yes, of course. and then I was like, okay, so what would be funny for that? And having Dwayne Johnson be like properly zen and use his massive amounts of charisma, but potentially give him dreadlocks and have that kind of cartoonish element to him, I thought would just work quite well. I hope that people would understand that that's not me saying that all vegans are bad, but
just being very aware that the end of Julianne Moore, her password was "Viva Less Vegan." We start walking down fine lines.
Yeah, I have to admit, I watched Golden Circle again this afternoon and realised I kind of blocked that from my first watch a week or so ago, and I was like, oh, that's maybe they're tied in. Maybe he was also Poppy's boyfriend. There we go.
There you go. I mean, I can't take that in terms of consideration. It wasn't in your pitch, but thank you. My last question for you, being a lot of new faces, new names in the cast, a lot of big acting names, how are you going to handle various introductions and character development?
Well, so I think that Galahad as Daniel Radcliffe as James, it will all happen through his and Danny Dyer's like interplay back and forth, before they are unceremoniously killed once the information is taken from them. To have Lancelot in, she's there interacting with Harry, and so we'll get to see her just be competent. Again, that was kind of a reaction to the fact that they kill off Roxy in 10 minutes into the second one without giving her anything to do. I just wanted to have a competent agent who is not male out there doing something. Eggsy will be there, like working remotely for most of the film, being really frustrated and wanting to help, but being torn by his family being there, but ultimately going to do his duty but surviving, and The Rock is there to be a cartoon character who at the end you go, oh, but he does have a point, and then he dies anyway.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, we are moving swiftly over to our second picture. He's sat there psyching himself up as we speak. Ross Holmeston, please. What's your title, your one-liner, and your pitch?
Kingsman, A New World. The Kingsmen are back with new peeps, but there's a big billionaire leading the world in space exploration, but seems to be doing much more than that.
Ooh, take it away.
The film opens and we see the Highlands of Scotland. We then see the Kingsman whiskey factory. It pans to the side and Eggsy is talking to someone, but we don't know who. We then reveal it's Merlin's gravestone. We then see Eggsy going into a secret entrance and we follow him through their base. We see that the base is brimming with activity. There are people being trained, vehicles being transported, and weapons being tested. Eggsy goes into the Kingsman's briefing room and is met by Channing Tatum. They have some banter. Then the head of the table swivels around in his chair, and we see Harry. He's now the leader of the Kingsmen. We establish that now with the resources of the statesmen, the Kingsmen are doing much better than before. Maybe they're debriefing about past missions to save Boris Johnson's life or something. Anyway, Harry tells them both that they have a new mission, but he tells them that they will need help and introduce the new Lancelot. It's Tom Holland. It's Jack Davenport's son. Anyway, they get told that satellites, including theirs, have been disappearing, and even contact with the International Space Station has stopped. Big millionaire mogul Eli Trust, played by Tom Hiddleston, who has been creating space flights, not the same ones in Fast 9 there, may be able to help with what's happened. They learn that he's going to be at... Sorry, Doug's texting me. It just keeps popping up. They learn that he's going to be at this technology expo in the Bahamas. So Harry gives them all fake names and shit, and off they go. Harry, in brackets, Harry is going to be more of a Merlin kind of character in this film. They all arrive in linen gentlemanly suits. It's a huge expo that's brought hundreds of investors, and they do some spy shit and locate Trust's bit of the expo. They locate him. They have words with him. Trust says that he has no idea what has happened to the missing satellite, or... Hold on a sec, because Doug keeps fucking messaging me.
Is he right?
Hold on.
Just mute him.
I know, but it keeps popping. Alright, I've put... hold on. Right. Sorry. It was just distracting. You know, when you can just see something in the corner of your eye, you're like, fuck off. Let's go from... they do some spy shit and locate Trust's bit of the expo. They locate him. They have words. Trust says that he has no idea what has happened to the missing satellites or the space station, but they get an evil vibe from him. Trust asks the three of them if they want to see what it's like to be an astronaut. They reluctantly agree. So they get put in a centrifuge kind of thing. Something happens, and it keeps going faster and faster. Everyone else passes out, but Eggsy manages to break the machine with a gadget. Trust apologizes, but it was definitely intentional. They leave, and Trust tells his right-hand man, played by Batista, to take care of them. He removes his hat, and he removes a hat to reveal that he has a metal head, and his name is Hammerhead. Insert 15-minute action sequence with jet skis, boats, and they manage to get away, leaving Batista on the beach with all the pigs on it. You know, that beach in famous Instagram pictures where there's like loads of pigs on the beach, and they lick his face. Scene at Trust's secret lair where some celebrities are getting on a space flight, and we learn that these flights are transporting people who have enough money to start a new world. We follow the shuttle as it flies into space. Maybe goes past Vin Diesel just in space as well, and docks with a huge. This is part of my Ross universe. The Ross EU. The celebs ask Trust questions about how it can't be seen by people, and he tells them it uses high-tech cloaking. Sorry, I'm getting near the end. The Kingsman gang now have to break into Trust's big factory using spy shit again. Maybe using a balaclava that has the ability to project a different face on it or something. Anyway, they break into the factory and find some secret shit. Channing Tatum gets separated from the other two, but they can see him through a window in another room. Then they hear Trust over the tannoy, the bad guy's speech, saying he knew that they were coming and that he plans to kill everyone on the planet with this gas that only kills humans, and starting a new world with the elite back on Earth after the gas has subsided. He then fills Channing Tatum's room up with the green gas. He chokes and dies. They are taken to cells and interrogated. Maybe there's room for funny dialogue in this bit. They don't give any info who they work for, and are taken to the gas room. They break out. Oh shit! Cue 15-minute action scene. Getting to the space flight. They do. They get to the huge space station. They almost get to Trust, but are stopped by Batista, and he explains. They are stopped by Batista, and then Trust explains that the satellites going missing was him installing them with his gas weapon, and that he has them hovering over all the major cities in the world. Anyway, something happens, and just before he pushes the button, they all start fighting, maybe with their laser guns. Batista gets blown out into space. Eggsy kills Trust in a really cool way, and they save the day. The space station is destroyed, and they go home. Eggsy finishes the film by putting up the Sun newspaper headline of a celebrity that cheated on someone on the same day that he saved the world. End of movie.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Okay. First of all, I want to learn a little bit more about Elon Trust's character and his drive here. Why is he wanting to create this new population and kill off the rest of Earth?
Because he's mad, you know. Maybe he's one of these kids that was bullied as a child. Maybe he hates the world. And he just, you know, he's always wanted to leave this Earth behind. Maybe he's sick and tired of the assholes, and maybe he got robbed as a child. Maybe he got beaten up, you know, who knows? Some bad shit happened to him in his life to turn him into a mentalist.
I was
why did
you see parallels with my life? I'm glad you clarified it there.
Yeah, so there you go.
Okay, thank you. This film is very much going back to the Kingsman. I know that we've got Channing Tatum there, but the statesmen on the whole seem to pretty much vanish from this movie. Is that an intentional decision?
No, I just, it's called Kingsman. I want them to be in it, and that I feel that Channing Tatum is that part of the statesman that I can introduce. And maybe there might be some scenes where he's talking to Jeff Bridges, maybe back in the and have some more 3 scenes with Jeff Bridges. But I mainly want to focus it on the Kingsman.
Cool. We talk about Tatum. Killing him off. He was quite underutilized in the second movie, and he seems quite underutilized again in this movie.
Nah, that's what you think, mate, but he's not. He's utilised via dialogue that they're all going to have. Obviously, I write you the pitch, I don't write you the script, and the script is going to pad it out and have lots of room for development for all the characters, especially Channing Tatum. I see Channing Tatum as this guy that's like very much a brawler, and like he's, and then what's his face? Tom Holland is very much a thinker, and he's not much of a brawler. And there's going to be like, oh, you're a thinker, oh, you're a brawler, and there's going to be like room for character development via that way. And
So
yeah,
eloquent.
I'll stop you there. I need to know more about Tom Holland's character development. That was my other question.
so he got brought into it after his mother, similar to Eggsy. somebody, maybe there could be a flashback scene or something where what's his face, Harry like visits Galahad's, not Galahad's, what's his name? I've even put it in my own pitch and I've forgotten his name. Yes, Davenport's mother and son, a young Tom Holland, and says, if you ever want to join the Kingsmen. And then obviously he trains and he comes in. He's much more of a book smart sort of. He's not as physical as everyone else. Your Eggsy and stuff like that. So that's, and I want him to have a progression on, have some character bits about his father, and maybe, Harry says something about his father as well. Have stuff, yeah.
Nice. Okay, like thank you very much. I'm sure there'll be more from the boys, but I'm done for now. I'm going to jump over to our third pitcher of the evening, Andy Henry. Have you decided your title? What is your title, your one-liner?
No, I haven't. I couldn't think of anything good. So I'll give you my shit title options. It's Kingsman Art Attack, Kingsman Bucket of Blood, Kingsman Catwalk of Doom, Kingsman A New Beginning, or Kingsman Rebuild, Reassess, something.
Use?
Recycle, maybe? I don't know.
Cool. There you go. You've...
Strong and stable.
For the moment, it's just Kingsman...
Let's hear his one-liner. Andy, what's your one-liner, please?
Well, my pitch wasn't first, actually, and mine was called The Broken Chain, but, we'll let that go. My one line is, the Kingsmen have to save the world from an evil villain who wants to turn celebrities into pieces of art. This time they go into battle without the help of their cool gadgets.
There you go. Take it away.
Okay, so we start with Beyonce, vocally warming up before a gig. A PA, we don't see their face, walks in and asks Beyonce to approve something on her laptop. As Beyonce stares at the laptop, she stops singing and goes blank. The PA takes her hand and leads her away. A few seconds later, the real PA comes in and tells Beyonce to go on stage. The PA looks around, but the room is empty. Cut to black. In the dark, we hear Eggsy and his new wife, Princess Tildy, having sex, but Eggsy is having problems finishing. He recaps the pressure he's under after the headquarters blew up, and the only two people left to rebuild the Kingsman are him and the new director, Harry Hart. Eggsy leaves and walks to the new headquarters, and as he walks through the town, we see it's decorated in Christmas decorations, and we hear a common Christmas song. Eggsy passes a newsstand with a headline that says, Beyonce, a no-show at show. When Eggsy enters the new headquarters, it looks like a building site. Basically, it's like maybe a month or so after the first one. Like, it's pretty quick. Champagne is there telling Eggsy the rebuild is going well and they have the support of the statesman. Eggsy, Hart and Champagne walk past the training room to see Tequila training new recruits. Hart admits that the Kingsmen are a bit thin at the moment. No headquarters, no gadgets, no team. But everything will be fine. The world just needs to stay quiet for a little bit longer. Cut to David Attenborough, who has been kidnapped and is tied to a chair by eccentric art collector and villain Cupid Longstocking, played by Hugh Grant. He tells David they have something in common. They both want the world to be beautiful, and the way to do that isn't through nature, but art. Cupid tells David that he has been kidnapping celebrities and turning them into pieces of art. He shows a painting of Matt Damon, painted with Matt Damon's blood, a tapestry made of Ryan Reynolds' skin, and we see an old-school record player that's been modified with Beyonce's voice box playing one of her songs. David calls the security, but Cupid says they're a little busy at the moment enjoying art, and we cut to the security being hypnotized by a video of like a colourful kaleidoscope of shapes. David tries to run, but Cupid waves his hand, and the security tackle David and start covering him in clay. He dies entombed in a statue and kept in Cupid's headquarters. All the statesmen leave. They've got a mission or some reason, but I basically want from now on the Kingsmen to be alone. So Harry reads another celebrity has gone missing and tells Eggsy that he has to go to a fashion show in, say, Paris or London, somewhere nice. That will be attended by loads of celebrities hoping to find something out, while Eggsy stays here and retrains the new recruits. And then we cut between the next two parts. The first bit is Hart entering the fashion show, and he sneaks around backstage, has a couple of fights, or times where he has to knock out someone silently. He oversees Cupid hypnotizing staff who pin down a famous model. Cupid says he wants to preserve her beauty by coating her skin in liquid crystal and hanging her from his ceiling like a chandelier. Harry sends Eggsy a message and then tries to stop Cupid, but is ambushed by goons or more hypnotized celebrities, and is tied to a chair and hypnotized by the kaleidoscope